Hi, it's Mike Hewson. Just got off the NHS England webinar, and I'd like to say there was actually quite a big contrast from the first one. They didn't actually answer some of the questions that were posed, and I'm going to give them credit for that, because that was completely absent last time round. From where I'm sat, I thought that there were at least some answers to some of the questions that pharmacists have been asking, particularly around PPE, and some clarity around the funding arrangements for the bank holidays, which is nice considering it's the day after tomorrow. I suppose I was relatively happy to hear from Nikki Kanani that she felt that all providers should be reimbursed for COVID-related costs. It remains to be seen whether that will materialise in our sector, but that is certainly the number one priority for me, is making sure that the explicit guarantee that Simon Stevens gave to all NHS providers on the 17th of March and the Health Select Committee, that all COVID-related costs would be reimbursed, that definitely does apply to us as well. I think there's still some work to do on that to make sure that that is explicit, because pharmacies right now are racking up huge costs. You know, for my pharmacy, I think we're already above £10,000 now for the last 5 weeks. That's in terms of extra staff costs, protective measures to keep our people safe, and the cost of serving those patients with additional deliveries, etc. So from that point of view, I was relatively heartened. I did find the statement that general practice and community pharmacy contracts are different a little bit frustrating, because many of the GP practice costs are reimbursed centrally, so their premises overheads, for example, and their IT costs are reimbursed centrally. In community pharmacy, all of our costs are reimbursed against prescription volume, pretty much. There is a little bit of money in quality payments, but it's a fraction of the overall cost. So from my perspective, the guarantee, it was actually one of the questions that I posed, the guarantee that they gave to general practice that all costs of opening for the bank holidays would be covered, versus the eventual decision which has been reached with PSNC. And I can only sort of say, from the fact that PSNC were apparently meeting at the same time this NHS England webinar was going on, that they really have held NHS England's feet to the fire on that one. So well done to PSNC. Now, for some pharmacies, particularly larger pharmacies, they may struggle to recoup all of their costs from the fee that's been set out. But I think it's a reasonable gesture in the current environment. But I wish they'd done that without leaving it to the last minute, i.e. that they'd not fought the sector, as I'm sensing that they have done. Also, some positive news on the delivery service, that pharmacies will be funded for providing a delivery service to shielded patients. That's only a fraction of the people that need deliveries, so let's not get overly excited about that. Apparently a letter is going to be published tomorrow, so again, we'll have to wait and see the detail. But the thing that does really concern me is the fact that they're inserting an obligation into the terms of service, so that's our contract essentially, to make it our responsibility to find somebody to deliver medicines to those patients. Now, that isn't always possible. You know, for example, you know, somebody brings in an urgent prescription late in the day, or if pharmacies have got people off sick, that may not be possible. But without seeing the detail around the funding, it's difficult to say whether that is going to be fair remuneration for this new obligation, or whether this is going to be a sticking plaster on a broken leg. So I guess I have to wait and see on this one, but generally what I heard I was relatively happy about. I'm still uncomfortable about the volunteer scheme. There was no clear answer about who was ultimately accountable should any problems arise with the volunteer scheme. I'm thinking particularly safeguarding issues, which may take several months months and even years to come out to the full glare of public attention. Where else do we go? Indemnity insurance. Basically, the NHS clinical negligence scheme for GPs and for trusts would extend to community pharmacies to provide a safety net for people. So if your own professional indemnity insurance didn't cover you, so for example, if I as a contractor was working in a Boots up the road, then I may not be covered by my own insurance. So they say that people would be covered by this scheme. Now, I think I need to see a bit more information because I do have some slightly conflictory information to that. So again, I have to watch this space. So overall, I'm gonna give NHS England for that performance a 7 out of 10. I've been fairly harsh on them up to now, but I think that one was better. I thought the tone was slightly more helpful. Last time they were almost like North Korea in avoiding the questions. I did feel that Keith Ridge did actually try and answer some of the questions that were important to us. But you know, I have to wait and see what actually happens over the next couple of days. Anyway, thanks for listening. Cheers. Bye.